Last time, on the chaotic adventures of Hyper Misao, our ever-loving utilitarian superhero of TJPW faced Nao Kakura in a series of wrestling matches, but you had to drink a cup of sweet and sour lemon juice first, and oh, the burning! The soul burned! Our hero sacrificed her insides to defeat Nao Kakura by spitting the acid in her face, but this isn't the first time Misao burned her soul. See, our hero will always do whatever she needs to do, so long as it's for the greater good, and so long as that greater good is Misao winning matches. But the reason she needs to win matches is because Misao winning is justice in itself. Misao has to protect TJPW, and to protect it, she must win. But there's a reason why Hyper Misao is in her optimum state as the feel-good superhero, because today we dive back to 2019 when Hyper Misao chose to join Saki-sama and Neo Bishikigun and leave the superheroics behind in one of the best told arcs in TJPW history. No, an arc that has the depth of a painting. Misao, the artist.
Who's ready for story time with Meerkat?
It's 2019. Our hero of Love and Peace is excited for the return of the White Dragon, Rika Tatsumi, from injury, out to face Misao in one-on-one battle. Hyper Misao has never won a championship in her career and wants to form a team with Rika Tatsumi to chase after the Princess Tag Team titles. Rika agrees and then proceeds to fucking kill Misao. I'm gonna fucking kill you! And locks in a vicious dragon sleeper on Misao, forcing her to tap out. Laying in defeat, Rika Tatsumi offers her fist. We're still a team, right? Hyper Misao like, yeah, it all seems well in the world, because thing is, lots of the anxieties and conflicts in TJPW seem to stem from the personal relationships and the inability for the heart to seek that catharsis. And by that, I mean Hyper Misao likes Rika Tatsumi, and now that the dragon has returned, she took an immediate opportunity to offer her friendship as a team. Through battles, friends all bonded that much more, but instead, Misao had a realization. Later that night, Miyu Watanabe would have a big task ahead of her: defeat the darkness that is Saki-sama just as she returns. TJPW is a fantasy kingdom with princesses and princess of princesses, and everyone is having fun, and no one is being evil. Because again, the conflicts stem from the personal, but like a seasonal villain in an anime, Saki-sama and Neo Bishikigun appear to raise havoc and cause chaos, leading to someone to rise up to deal with her. Miyu can stop Saki-sama before she even starts. However, she is not strong enough, missing the laser beam and on the receiving end of Saki-sama's kicks. But Saki-sama is here to make a statement. She's gonna make an example of Miyu, but Rika Tatsumi makes the save. Saki-sama attacks her immediately, and here comes our hero, the new tag team partner of the White Dragon, Hyper Misao, the protector of love and peace, facing off against a villain like Saki-sama to bring justice to TJPW. Hyper Misao was tired of losing. The loss to Rika Tatsumi earlier seemingly waking her up to this fact. So Hyper Misao wants to join Neo Bishikigun and become better under Saki-sama. To prove her point, she took off her mask and cut it up. As she leaves with her hair covering her face, looking at no one, she accepted it. Hyper Misao, no more.
Drive-through. Introducing McDonald's.
Hyper Misao has shed her superhero persona, cut up her mask, and joined Saki-sama on her quest. No longer a superhero, Hyper Misao is now simply Misao. Entering with a new menacing body language and the even more menacing DS Irae roaring in the arena, Misao, now a dark reflection of her old superhero gear, the dark hair, the black face mask, her new epaulettes, the dark cape, the rose-tipped cane, and I absolutely love her cavalier boots, but most noticeably wrestling without a mask and often wearing a more aggressive visage, even in victory. But more importantly, she is wrestling far more aggressive, adding in more moves like Libera Me. The chicken wing crossface transition into using her legs to trap and choke the opponent. It's vicious, unique, and I love it. Her Hyper Me returns, Final Cut finisher now named after her theme, Dies Irae, Day of Wrath, delivered with even more depth, and even debuting a new finisher with the most appropriate name for a character in recent memory, the Vanitas, which she delivers quite frankly, viciously. It looks great and symbolically represents her new transformation. Vanitas being an art form in the 17th century representing the transient of life and the reminder of death with still life and still objects representing the vanity of worldly pleasures. Sounds like a fun person at a party. That's the art of this whole arc. Misao is ridding herself of her fun personality and chose a garb with a song representing judgment and death. Together with her master Saki-sama, they would lead a path of destruction. Miyu Watanabe would team with different partners in an effort to defeat Neo Bishikigun, but the duo was too powerful, leading to Rika Tatsumi to save the day and team with Miyu Watanabe for the very first time before they would ever daydream. Rika and Miyu want the old Misao back and are battling for her soul. Saki-sama, the all-powerful, tall, and deadly beautiful woman, providing perfect backup, however, leaving Misao to lay waste to Rika and finishing her off with the Vanitas, effectively destroying her past and all her emotions regarding Rika Tatsumi away. Hyper Misao is officially gone. Life is empty. The fun and laughter of Hyper Misao is pointless. All that is certain is death, and Misao has embraced it. With the past fully deleted, Misao and Saki-sama go on a warpath, defeating everyone in front of them, until Saki-sama saw a creature that is far too cute and pure for this world. Mizuki. Mizuki is always a super adorable little rabbit in white, and Saki-sama adores her. How can she not? She, who is on a mission to destroy the ugliness out of TJPW, will naturally swoon to adorableness when she sees it. Look at the future May St. Michelle for proof. Mizuki teamed with the young Yumi to face Neo Bishikigun, and Saki-sama offered her hand to Mizuki, who rejected it loudly like a cartoon because Mizuki may be adorable, but she's a friggin' menace. Saki-sama is so offended she can't move. Oh no! Mizuki has stunned Saki-sama with her rejection, but Saki-sama won't take no for an answer and once again offers a rose to Mizuki. But oh, Mizuki says no! And now Saki-sama dejected. She's depressed, folks. How can you reject the beauty of the ever-beautiful Saki-sama? But in her kindness, Saki-sama would offer a third time to Mizuki. But Mizuki is so relentlessly invulnerable to her beauty, so now Saki-sama wants to kill her. Silly rabbit! She's so wily and nimble and always logically using her size to her advantage, but Saki-sama wins the match with her aesthetically beautiful gogoplata. Saki-sama would offer one last time for Mizuki to join Neo Bishikigun, but she runs away this time. This would lead to Neo Bishikigun challenging the Princess Tag Team Champions, the Magical Sugar Rabbits. Saki-sama still desires Mizuki as part of her group. She needs that cuteness like as a high piece of art to hang in her French chateau. But the Magi Rabbits' friendship is far too strong, leaning on each other both as a tag team and emotionally. Saki-sama uses her size to dismantle Yuka, leaving Misao to handle Mizuki alone. To prove that her defection to Saki-sama was fortuitous for her growth and power, Misao successfully lands the Vanitas on Mizuki and wins the Princess Tag Team titles for Neo Bishikigun. Misao's first and to date only title win came because she destroyed her identity and her past to become this new Misao. When you really sit and think about it, with the philosophy of Vanitas attached to the story of Hyper Misao's journey to become a pro wrestler, it's actually tragic that this is what she felt she needed to do, to be champion. Hyper Misao never felt that she was on the path in life, never making her own decisions, going by what her parents wanted, not being able to be the artist that she wanted to be, reclusive at home, and heading deeper and deeper into a really dark place, where she eventually decided that she had enough and attempted to take her life after downing pills. But she was discovered by a passerby and saved. However, she was blamed for the incident and made to feel even worse. And honestly, periods like such, places I myself have been, is not something I ever want for people to experience because you see no light. But the beauty of art always shines when needed. She saw a hardcore match with Jun Kasai and was inspired to become a pro wrestler, a place where she can be an artist, and she went all in immediately on this quest. Being Hyper Misao is not just being a superhero character, because Misao already survived the biggest villain of all. herself. She already is a superhero just by still being here, fighting and inspiring to bring fun and joy into the world as evil and awful and cruel as our own. Only for her to think she needed to destroy it all, accept the emptiness of life, letting nihilism dominate, and allowed herself to permanently live in this dark state. From the outside, this is cool as fuck. But from the perspective of Misao, it's a tragedy. Neo Gun will continue their winning streak, defeating team after team and defending against the Bakuretsu sisters. Neo's quest to defeat Neo Gun will still continue, teaming with Miyu Yamashita in an attempt to dethrone the princesses of TJPW. But by this point, Saki-sama and Misao are working as a solid unit. Once again, it's Misao who does the final legwork, leading to their victory with a Vanitas to Miyu Watanabe. Saki-sama summons the remaining Neo Gun, now fully formed, to wreak havoc. They would face Rika Tatsumi, Yuka Sakazaki, and Antonio Honda for classic Honda antics and comedy, but Neo Gun dispatched them all, and Misao would defeat Rika Tatsumi again with the Vanitas. They are at their most powerful now, and the evolution of Misao was impossible to ignore. She would earn her first shot at the Princess of Princess Championship against the big kaiju, Shoko Nakajima. It's a shame that this was white camera only. There's a lot of nuances missing on their faces for this, but the match was solid, as Shoko Nakajima typically always is. Misao's newfound power and aggression would give her the edge against the kaiju, but Shoko is incredible. She avoids the Vanitas with this arm drag, avoids her ripcord knee with the Frankensteiner. She shows her resilience being locked in a Liberami, but finds her way out. She escapes the day at Irae like an action movie and lands her double-arm DDT into the big senton splash, handing Misao her first pinfall loss since dropping the mask. Despite being defeated, Saki-sama would be there for her apprentice. This isn't over yet. There are still Princess Tag Team Champions. Rika and Miyu would team with various opponents in an effort to reach Misao, and Neo Gun would face a rapping duo of Kamiyu and Mina Shirakawa. This time, Saki-sama seemed to be offended by Mina Shirakawa's face and personally handed her defeat with the Academy Award kick. But right after, Rika Tatsumi and Miyu Watanabe decided to join their collective efforts once again as a tag team to face Neo Gun at DDT's Ultimate Party for the Princess Tag Team titles. Misao is once again able to land the Vanitas on Rika Tatsumi, but this time, Miyu manages to save Rika. Miyu would land a successful teardrop on the taller Saki-sama, allowing the battle to be just between Rika Tatsumi and Misao. They, who would have been a tag team in an alternate universe, exchange strikes back and forth, their emotions growing with each strike. The fire, the white dragon be damned. She lands the twist of fate in the most appropriate situation to use that move, and literally changes the fate of Misao with one single flying hip attack to finally end the reign of Neo Gun. Rika would finally defeat Misao, and she would win the Princess Tag Team titles with Miyu Watanabe, making their friendship that much stronger as Daydream. The loss would affect Misao greatly. Existential despair creeps right back in with the all-familiar demonic shadows that is your mind of doubt. But in her defeat, Misao, already existing within that perspective of emptiness, would inevitably re-enter a state of depression, locking herself away again and refusing to come out, forcing Saki-sama to drag her out even. But through Saki-sama, Misao finds a way back and overcomes the setback, denying Rika Tatsumi again and continuing her winning ways with Saki-sama. Rika Tatsumi had enough now. She and Raku started protests for Hyper Misao to return. She has her okay, but again, Misao is too far gone to return. But now Rika knows what she must do. She must cut off the head of the snake. She challenges Saki-sama to a match. Early in the night, Misao would defeat Suzume with the Liberami, and when Rika faced against Saki-sama, Misao would cheat far more than usual, even more than Saki-sama would have liked, and eventually caused the entire match to be thrown out when Rika and Misao wouldn't stop. There's only one way to end this, but not just a match to defeat her. This goes deeper. Rika Tatsumi must reach deep inside Misao and bring her back. To do so, she challenges Misao to a match that inspired Misao to begin with. A hardcore match filled with outside destruction and chaos and loads of chairs. But Rika Tatsumi would do old Hyper Misao spots and even brought out the Hyper Dream Cycle and forced Misao to ride it, anything to bring Hyper Misao back, but Misao would fight every attempt at the past trying to return. Rika would lock in the very dragon sleeper that caused this whole arc to begin, but this time, Misao would learn to escape her hold. Her growth is incredible, but Rika Tatsumi's efforts worked in reaching Misao's subconscious as she pulls the first crossbody since the change. She would attempt to cheat just like Hyper Misao used to, the whole story being told through the moves and emotions as Rika would once again twist Misao's fate in wrestling and land the flying hip attack to defeat Misao. But more importantly, this beautiful moment comes full circle. This is one of my favorite matches in TJPW history. So much story being told in one match in an effort to bring back Hyper Misao. Rika, with Misao's old mask in hand, would try once again to reach the superhero within, and this time, conflicted Misao considers the offer and seemingly reaches for it. But Saki-sama would immediately barge in and express her disappointment in Misao. Misao's whole journey leads to this point. She who thought she needed to rid her identity and become some void of life in order to succeed with Saki-sama. See, Hyper Misao always cheated, but it was never out of malice, but out of justice for the greater good, and that justice being Hyper Misao winning matches. Misao is winning more matches than she ever will again, but the justice wasn't about Misao winning matches anymore, but rather for the admiration of Saki-sama. The trap of Saki-sama is never being your full self, but rather always living to admire the beautiful. She, who wanted to leave the expression of vanity behind, but instead of being free to roam the world, she remains trapped inside of a museum, forced to look at one single painting for eternity. She realized where she went wrong, but is still grateful to Saki-sama, who she still admires greatly, but she wants to be her own person again. This would play out in the final act of Misao when she took on Saki-sama. And this was less of a match, however, with a bright spotlight in the middle of this theatric stage. Misao would climb the top rope for the first time since her turn and declared loudly to all of TJPW, This moment didn't hit as hard the first time I saw this match, but after digesting her whole arc, all 39 matches, this is one of the most inspired moments in TJPW history. The act itself was something beyond Misao's control, as she is now confused by her move. Did the superhero perhaps reach beyond Misao's control? Hardly one to not take advantage, Saki-sama immediately strikes with the Academy Award kick, fully understanding that this is not her apprentice anymore. Saki-sama drops the mask back to Misao, no longer interested in her, as Misao thanks Saki-sama for everything she has done. And despite Saki-sama being disappointed in her, her words seem to strike her heart. So she gives her a kind bon voyage. Before she leaves, Misao wants a goodbye handshake, and Saki-sama obliges her former understudy. But oh, Misao does the thing! She does the thing she always does! It's official! She's back! She's Misao. No more. But Hyper Misao returns. The next day, Shoko Nakajima is out, and oh, here comes Hyper Misao, back to normal, back to her old self again, challenging Shoko Nakajima to a match on January 4th, starting a series of yearly traditional absurd battles against the big kaiju. She would continue forward, creating novel matches and further joy to the world of pro wrestling, having risen out of the darkness once again with a greater respect for the path that led her here. This only serves to make our superhero that much better. A wonderful, well thought out and very well performed arc in Hyper Misao's career. Probably my favorite arc in TJPW history. A tragic downfall of a happy character who shed everything because she thought that was what she needed to do to succeed, into a white dragon who Hyper Misao once liked and wanted to team with, came to her rescue and fought tooth and nail to bring her back again. What a well-told fantasy story. And this video would end here, and I would do the typical next time on the chaotic adventures of Hyper Misao. But there's an interesting epilogue that I stumbled on, because wrestling exists within its own world and the characters exist within that world. But wrestling is also unique as an art form to also be metafiction. Misao would return one more time to assemble the full history of Neo Beast Gun for a Saki-sama entrance, but would never interact with her ever again. But Saki Akai, however, Saki Akai is not Saki-sama. They look similar, but they are not the same. Wrestling can be metafiction still, and Saki Akai's final match in TJPW had her team with Kami-Yu, who equally admired Saki Akai, facing against Hyper Misao, teaming with the person who she wanted to team with to begin with. Rika Tatsumi. Hyper Misao would hit the Vanitas on Saki Akai. Akai would still capture the victory, however, and Hyper Misao would participate in Saki Akai's retirement / wrestle everyone on the roster match as the last opponent of Saki Akai in TJPW, even trying to trick her with her usual Hyper Misao antics. And even though this is not Saki-sama, the message and meaning is clear. Hyper Misao would cry in an emotionally delivered speech to Saki Akai, thanking her for everything, and it serves many roles. Saying goodbye to Saki Akai's career, real-life sentiments from Hyper Misao, and within the meta, closure of the arc of Misao and Saki-sama. Next time on the chaotic adventures of Hyper Misao. Hyper Misao retiring? Wait, Hyper Misao married? Find out. Same hyper time, same hyper channel on the chaotic adventures of Hyper Misao, our protector of love and peace. Hero. Hero.
I love you. Do you love me? 우리가 만난 건 destiny.
Many thank you to all my Patreon sponsors. This is probably going to be one of my favorite videos that I've ever made. We will see how I handle the edit. Thank you to Jeff, the Up Channel Tees, Renee Valdez, Ace Trace, Maddox, Justin Stein, Matthew Pelletruska, Neo Jamo, Terrence Danwood, Kevin Mullen, MK, Ray Connor, Shake Party Money 520, Juggernaut Graphics, I'm Juggernaut Bitch, Chuck Ingle.wave, Aaron Zacharias, I1 Victim, JLA, the Justice League of America, where were you? Julia Sunglasses, Chihuahua, Paul, Darn, Pickle Simon, oh, Scott Racer, Steven Siemens, Coppertari _D, Little, Choo Choo, Tony Davis, Jesse, The Outlaw, Dodge, Morningstar, Doggo Snake, Impossible, Bargo, Aldo, and Luciano Alredo. Thank you so much.